Alright, we're gonna get down right to it. This is the deck profile I was talking about. Synchrons. Single deck for this format. Now, before we get started, I will in the description there will be links to other videos. These links are basically people I am thanking for kind of helping me get ideas on how I want to run mine. So that's technically a shout out to those people. Now there are some questionable cards in here, so bear with me. Like every deck has questionable cards. You'll see why I have these, and I'm going to explain why as we go along. So just work with me here, and I don't want to hear any shit about, oh, you need to run this card, don't take this card sucks. I built this way for a reason. Now, like I said, there are some questionable things, and I'm going to tell you what they're all about, so let's get started. We're first starting with 3 Junk Synchron. Junk Synchron main guy, he's the main host of the entire deck. Bring back any level 2 or lower monster. Just a good card. I mean, what Synchron deck doesn't run Junk Synchron? Next, 3 Quick Draw Synchron. Big guy, and he is one of the main reasons to run a Synchron Quasar deck. He helps out with the first turn Quasar combo. And I'll demonstrate that here in a minute. But basically, you discard any monster, special summon him, and he's used as any synchro monster. He's a substitute for any synchro monster that requires a Synchron tuner. Sadly, he can only be used for synchros that require Synchron tuners. But he'd be kind of broken if not. Next, we have 2 Unknown Synchron. Now, these are basically for the main purpose of these is basically to go into formula. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering here. Can help out with a lot of other things too, but that's what he's mainly for. Special summon him, whatever. You get the idea. Next, we got One Debris Dragon. This card is very helpful in so many ways. Basically, level 7 Synchro, Debris, Star Eater. That kind of thing. Just a really great card. Helps out a lot. Next, we got 1 Effect Veiler. Now, if I had 2, I'd be running 2. Sadly, I only have 1. But any deck should main, if not side, a Veiler. Stops a lot of things. Helps you out a lot, actually. Next, we got 2 Synchron Explorer. Now, I've seen people run 3, and I've seen people run 2, but I stick with 2 because if you go into 3, you kind of risk dead drawing. And people think, well, shouldn't you run 2 or at least a side 3? Yeah, I've thought about it. Yeah, but that's not the case. I mean, like Synchron Explorer, it's like you have to be conservative. You have to be very smart. You just can't play a Synchron Explorer and assume everything's gonna go all fucking hunky dory. The fact that even playing this deck alone, you have to be very smart and be very cautious. Next, 3 Level Leader. So good. Reduce any level as long as the 5 or higher. Bring him out. And he's part of the first turn Quasar combo too, amongst other things. Next, we got 1 Dandy. Very helpful. Full tokens for days to use him. Bring back with Debris Dragon and get yourself a Black Rose, give yourself a Stardust if there's already a level 1 out. And the best thing about this, I think, and I'm pretty sure this is accurate. If I'm reading this right, you summon Black Rose. I mean, this is a mandatory. So I'm trying to think. And when I say this now, someone kind of point this out because you know how rulings are everything. It's not a thing I would rely on, really care, but I believe, and I could be wrong. Single Black Rose, you should get the effect of Black Rose first, and then by chain this should happen. But I could be wrong. I think since it's mandatory, it starts chain link. I think because it's mandatory, this starts chain link 1, and then Black Rose starts chain link 2. So it's like destroy and then tokens, but I could be wrong. 2 Doppel Warrior. Now, occasionally you can always slide 1 out, but I like the 2 because the ability to special summon this card from your hand if a monster is special summoned from your graveyard. So helpful. And then you get tokens. Again, tokens for days with this. Now we have 1 to anywhere. I have 1, and then in the side, which I'm going to show, I have another 1 because 1, draw power 2, level manipulation can count as a level 2 if need be, if it's, as long as that isn't negated. Then bring this out with 1 for 1 if you need to, etc., etc. It's a good card. Helps tune your deck up. 2 Cobalt Hedgehogs. Now, people always think, I have not seen that card being used in any synchro deck for years. I'm like, and you're absolutely right. I thought, there were times where I was risky, as I advanced on with synchros. I'm thinking, why Quibble? Well, I've kind of got back into the idea that Quibble's good. If anything, you can always discard him. Then if you don't want to discard anything else, if you need to actually normal something else, if you need to discard with him, discard him with 1 for 1. And he is his own graveyard revival. The only downfall is if he does his own graveyard revival, he has to be banished, but it's all circumstantial. Now, the only big heavy hitter that we have right now is Gores. There were other things. There were times where it's like, run a BLS in here, run a Dark Sea Morgue, run Trigodia. Yeah. I did like the idea of Trigodia, and Gores in a deck, but like Trag, you kind of end up hurting yourself too much if you don't play them right. Now into our spells. 3 tuning. Now normally I used to play 2, but I like the idea of 3. Now basically add any Synchron tuner, you mill right, and then it goes more into your favor. That is your biggest search engine. Then you got 1 reinforcement of the army. Use this to bring out Dop Warrior junk. He's basically in here like, if you need your junk, Synchron, you don't have to worry about any drawbacks. Next, 1 for 1, Foolish Burial. Now, Foolish Burial can often get sided out a lot of times. It's just basically to help out. If you need a card in the graveyard, it's going to send it there. 1 for 1, bring out basically your level 1 tuners for days. Then we got 2 MST. And I'm thinking, why don't you run 3? Well, there's not really a whole lot of room in here. Remember, this deck has to be enough search and enough draw amongst the recycling of the monsters. And 2 MST I think is pretty good. And you'll see why I only run 2, because the monster effects I have to destroy cards is pretty helpful. Next, I got Lure of Darkness. Again, another draw card. And then this was a questionable card for me too, but I kind of like it. Okay, if you draw into too many level eaters, you can always ban it, draw 2 and then banish the level eater. A lot of times it helps. Next, Shard of Greed. Now, I was iffy about this card, and I saw this. Now, the thing about Shard of Greed is, no one is really going to destroy it. They're not going to intentionally destroy this card. Not a lot of people do, because they would rather destroy something that might hurt them later on, like Deep Prison, Mirror Force, whatever. You get the idea. Yeah. Now there are people who might try to destroy this, prevent you from drawing 2, but that means they wasted destruction material to get rid of this, and now you get to spam whatever spell trap you have that they should have destroyed. And last spell, Mind Control. Good card. It's just it's too good. Not broken, but it is good. You can target any card. They can be targeted. Take control of it. You can't attack or be tributed, but you're going to use it for your synchro support. Now onto the traps. And this is where you'll see the very last 2 I'm going to show are the questionable ones, and you'll see why I have them in here. We got 1 Bottomless, good staple. And I'm only running 1 Mirror Force, because a lot of these decks now, like, trying to run 2 Mirror Forces isn't going to do a whole lot. Mirror Force in general isn't going to stop a lot of things now. I mean, Evil Swarms, Fire Fists, Fire Kings. I mean, there's not a whole things that can't stop this. So that's why you run 1. Then I'm playing 2 Call the Haunted, Graveyard Revival, obvious. 1 Phoenix Chain, for obvious. 1 Deep Prison, and one compulse. You can only run one, so I don't want to hear any bitching. And the only reason I'm having one deep prison right now is because if you rely too much on others and you don't, the more stuff like this you have in your deck, the more you're relying on your opponent to do something that is going to, you're relying on them to fuck up. That's basically a handicap. I'd rather have, the one in case they, if the site they do, and focus on me spamming them instead of them trying to fuck up. Now the two questionable cards I have is a defense draw and a graceful revival. The only reason these are in here, you're like, whoa, there's no torrential tribute, there's no dark hole. Well, those cards kind of suck now. Now, you look at a lot of stuff, dark hole and torrential tribute isn't really going to affect a lot. That's why I got the one mirror force. Now, I'm planning on getting safe zones. When I get safe zones, these two are coming out and those are going in. This is basically, it's extra graveyard revival. It's like, why don't you just use a Call of the Haunted? Well, I could use a third Call of the Haunted, yeah. But with this, by the time I have this, whatever I'm going to bring back is going to be, the level 2 or lower. And whether that be Tunyware, Quill Bolt, Adopt a Warrior. And the best thing about that is if the monster leaves the field in any way, so does a card. It doesn't waste space. And defense draw is pretty good because the fact is it doesn't really affect any of your opponent's monsters. Like let's say you're going up against Evil Swarms, they pandemic their monsters. Well, that doesn't really matter. This doesn't really, affect that situation. This basically says you're not going to take any damage, and it's plus a card. Now to the synchros. I'm sorry this is taking forever, but I had a lot to discuss. Now we got one Junk Warrior, who's going to be part of the main first turn Quasar. One Gardna. So good. Such a good card. Gardna is a troll. Troll is like attack, we'll switch a monster defense. Again, switch a monster defense. Oh, you killed him. Or you intentionally sent him to the graveyard. Change the monster's battle position. Berserker. Good card. Banish a junk monster. Reduce some attack points. Kill any monster in defense. Nitro. Now there were times where I was like, Nitro's kind of iffy. And you're right, it is. But, you play a spell when he's out. Give him an extra 1,000 boost. Tag a defense. Kill a monster in defense. Switch another monster in defense. Tag again. Junk Destroyer. Now this was one of the reasons why I said, I'm only having the 2 MST. Junk Destroyer and at least one non-tuner. For every non-tuner used, you can blow up that many cards. Well, on occasional, there's, there can be anywhere from 2 to 3. So that's at least 2 to 3 cards getting destroyed, and you would usually focus that on back row. Road Warrior. Helps with the first turn Quasar, and it's so good. Especially summon any level 2 or lower warrior or machine type, which is usually the Unknown Synchrons, the Doppel Warriors, the Quill Bolts, the Tunyware, etc. etc. Arm Yarn. Point boost and burn damage. Dark Diviner. This card is a troll. Now bear in mind, his effect does not target, which means he can basically run over an obelisk. And hey, let's equip him with him. Run over an obelisk. Obelisk is going to get killed. 4,000 burn damage. And if he destroys a monster by battle, mill top 3 cards. He is a good card. 1 TG, obvious if you run synchros. If you spam synchros, run TG because that's your draw engine. And since more synchros are starting to see you play more they synchro, you get the draw. And now Scrap Dragon. Scrap Dragon good. Level Eater. Reduce his level, reduce any level 5 or higher monster's level if he's not the only one. Blow up the Level Eater. Blow up a card they have. Even more mean. Mind Control. Take control of one of their cards, one of their monsters. Blow it up along with one of their cards. 2 for 1. And then obvious, the Synchro Tuner, Formula Synchron, and then Star Eater. Star Eater good. Just gonna go start ramming in. And then, of course, the Stardust Brigade. 1 Stardust Dragon, 1 Shooting Star Dragon, and 1 Shooting Quasar Dragon. So good. Stardust, negate, trib, shooting star, obvious, negate, multiple attack, negate attack, shooting quasar, big boss man of synchros. Now, if you have the ability to do so, if you get a quasar out, and like I said, if I get safe zones, it's going on quasar. That's one of the main reasons. Now, when in doing so, if you get safe zones too, try to get him out if you can. And this is why, because they try to blow up safe zone, you're going to, start striking it. They try to blow up again, quasar. And the best thing about it, even if they destroy safe zone, and this card leaves, this card comes out. However, don't safe zone a shooting star, because if you need to banish him, then the safe zone is rendered useless, and you did all that shit for nothing. Now, I'm going to go into the side deck now. Now, the main thing you have to worry about when using a deck like this is the main deck you really have to worry about is Evil Swarms. And maybe maybe the new Gravekeeper stuff. Now, I talked about what the new Gravekeepers are doing, but we're going to go in this binder here. I don't know if you can see that well, but you got the 1 Tuning, Archer, T-King, 2 Curse Seals, Black Rose, 2nd D Prison, Starlight Road, Mag Cylinder. Now, this is basically the stuff that your Exceed counter, your nuke, stop your special summons, stop their searching, Curse Seal, Forbidden Spell. Now, this card, you drop a spell, negate the activation of a spell card that your opponent's activating, and then destroy it. And then every other copy is rendered useless. They draw into it. It's a dead draw. They can't play it. Use this on Pandemic against Evil Swarm. Use this on Grand Tower and spell books. That is going to start saving your ass. It may not take them down, but it's certainly going to slow them down to the point where you might be able to be faster. Now, like I said, there's a 2nd D Prison if need be, Starlight Road if they start getting destruction heavy, Mag Cylinder. There is a 2nd page. Now, like I said, like Dark Hole and Tyrannical Tribute is kind of iffy now with a lot of decks, but I got them sided just in case. I also have a Divine Wrath if need be, because they can't counter this. Unless it's another counter trap. Breakthrough Skill, obvious. It's cited because at first it was good, but it's not that good anymore. Creature Swap, very helpful. And Forbidden Lance, helpful. That is the side deck if need be. Now, we're going to go on to some other... I'm going to show you another thing that I kind of came up with. I call it the side. This is basically cards that if you feel like you need to alter your engine or alter your deck and side deck before you enter a tourney or something, these are cards you want to try out. Try to move the camera, get some focus in here. Now, if you get a quick look, you see some stuff in there that's going to help out. Not a lot of this is going to do, but it's certainly going to surprise the hell out of your opponent if you use these cards. So like Tour Bus, for example, definitely going to surprise them. They have a card in their graveyard that they want in their graveyard, and you know it, so you don't want them to have it. Tour Bus, send it back. Send back a monster in your graveyard from your graveyard to your deck. Save a synchro, like Formula, whatever. Send Quasar back to the extra deck if he's already, gone. 2nd Destroyer if need be. There's a 2nd Mirror Force warning. Warning's not that good anymore, sadly. And then you got the Cockroach set, special, stop exceeds, draw for days, or stop them from special summoning. There's a 2nd Shard of Greed, Salvage Warrior, Recycling, Dark Sea Morg, stops them from setting. If you use the special summon, you can special it from your hand or your graveyard. A 2nd Junk Warrior, because if your first one goes and you feel like you need another one. Plasma. Plasma's good. He's not that good, but he does help a lot of times. Treeborn Frog. As long as you don't have back row, special summon it out and do what you gotta do. Localized Tornado. Now, it is, but it isn't a replacement for Pot of Avarice. It basically is, if you start going to the point where you are using up a lot of materials, using up a lot of your deck's getting low. Both your guys' decks are getting low. Your deck's going to be refreshed. Raikou, obvious, you know, Lightsworn Bomb, basically. Wabaku, I like the idea of Wabaku in place of, like, in cards like Threatening Roar, because they try to destroy you, you're just going to chain to it, you can't take any damage that turn, and no monsters are going to be destroyed that turn. Double Trags, obvious, like I said, Trag can help. He's not that helpful, but he can help. So, like I said, these are situational options. These are situational choices, if need be, to kind of surprise your opponent. Scapegoats, Plasma. I can't see it, but Plasma's over there. And now the last page, the Forbidden sets. 2 exceptional synchros that can help out. A second Starlight Road, Wild Tornado, and like I said, Wild Tornado, Scrap Dragon. These are just kind of, you know, extra ideas. If you feel like you should alter your engines a bit, you can. I'm sorry this is taking so long. I apologize for wasting all your time. I'm just kind of explaining different ideas on how you can run this, different cards you can use, kind of give your opponent a surprise. Because if you use the same stuff too long, you know, your opponent's not going to be surprised or they're not going to know what's coming. So alter your deck engines a bit with some of the stuff like this to kind of surprise them more. So anyway, thank you for watching. Binder vids will come up soon. More topics are going to come out. If you have questions for me, if you have a topic you think I should talk about, let me know. I'm sorry for wasting all your time with this long ass video. So click responsibly, do what you gotta do, and everyone have fun dueling.